What's up, everyone? This is InCamp Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. This is your reminder that deer seasons are opening all over the country and everybody is stoked. I can't wait. Last week's episode was with TJ Erickson. We talked fishing. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen to it. It was a really great episode on fall fishing and fall patterns. I think you're really going to like that episode if you haven't heard it. Our guest today may have already filled the tag because, like I said, deer seasons are underway. So tune in. We didn't talk about it because at the time we recorded this, he had not filled a tag. So you'll get to see some stuff drop on that, I hope. But this is a really great episode to kick off the season, talking about mobile setups, mobile hunting, and the creation of it. So I hope you enjoy. This is InCamp Podcast. I'm talking to Kevin Leach from Latitude himself. And you're on the road, right?
I am. I'm in Nebraska. This is the first time I have left the state of Michigan to hunt in 3 years. So, yeah, work and life. I've got a couple of young kids, raising a family has kept me off the road and very, very busy the last few falls. But it's good to be back and running around and poking around and trying to find something to put an arrow through.
I bet, man. Are you guys seeing anything you're out there?
It's been, yeah, I mean, I'd say we're seeing quite a few deer. The bigger ones have been hard to come by. I was fortunate to locate a really, really good one over the weekend and then caught him glass in a field, a sorghum field, Sunday night. It's Tuesday the 2nd now, so Sunday night the 31st. And, I had just a game plan that felt like it was going to be, I just had to get in. It was going to be a tough entry, but if I could get into the right spot and find a good tree, and I could get him opener last night. And unfortunately, he was a no-show. I felt like I got in clean. Not sure if I did, but it felt like I did, and he didn't show up. So I left my gear, slid back in there this morning, and I had a deer blow at me from about 75 yards away, and it was not downwind, but who knows what was going on. So I don't know. It sounded like something was kind of headed that way to come back to bed, but who knows? He's a nice one though, so we'll be playing the game of cat and mouse the next few days. It looks like.
What's your game plan? You going to try to get eyes on him first?
Yeah, he's in a spot, and it honestly, even though it's Nebraska, it reminds me of Michigan a lot. He's in an area where there's just a ton of places he could bed. Yeah. There's a ton of food. There's a ton of cover. There also seems to be a ton of deer just from the sign. And he was kind of off to the side where I glassed him up Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the challenge. Is it's going to be difficult to kind of pin him down, but there's a series of ag fields, and it seems like since we've been out here, the better sign and the bigger sign has been around the sorghum, mm-hmm. The red sorghum specifically. So there's actually there's like 4 of those fields in this little section that he's in. So it's gonna, like I said, there's a lot of places he could be. So I am gonna probably do some more glassing tonight and kind of work back and forth between doing that and maybe taking a couple cracks in the morning. Cool. Selectively as well.
Might as well while you're out there, man. It's all about the time that you're spending on the field, but
yeah. Well, it's fun. At least I located him. That's a big part of the battle, and so it's cool to put eyes on. I mean, he's a really good one. I'm not one to score deer, or I'm not good at it, but he's a giant. So
I've had plans to go to Nebraska like 4 times now, and it hasn't panned out. So I have a roadmap for how kind of jump out, check this spot on the way out there, or a couple places I want to go, and I haven't made it happen yet, man. So I'm pretty jealous. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. It's tough for the opener's tough early season out here. Cause there's just, I've been one other time and it was for the opener as well 3 years ago. Uh-huh. And, it's just food everywhere and cover everywhere. Cause all the corn's up, they'll bed in the sorghum when that's tall enough. Uh-huh. So there's just a lot of places they could be, and honestly, the deer density is a lot lower than other places. So you basically are just searching until you got to search until you find something and put eyes on it, and then it kind of takes 2 sits to kill one, right? You got to see them, and then you got to move in and
sure
they do the same thing 2 nights in a row. So
Now, are you guys hunting mule deer while you're out there too, or just pretty much in a whitetail area?
we're just in a whitetail area right now. We're kind of right near the edge of where the mule deer population starts, but we're kind of in the middle part of the state. But we're not going after them
Yeah,
while we're here this time around.
cool. So, Kevin, why don't you give everybody just like a quick bio to Kevin? Because that's, we're going to kind of weave it in and out of here, but why don't you tell people who you are?
Yeah, so Kevin Leach, I am one of the 3 co-founders at Latitude. I wear a bunch of different hats. We all do, so I won't get into titles and whatnot. But I'm originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan, born and raised there. Have an athletic background, played sports all the way up through college, played football in college, went to the University of Michigan, went to grad school, Notre Dame after, so I got a lot of different colors floating around in the house.
Yeah.
Grew up as a Notre Dame fan, actually. So, and my sister went to Michigan State. So, what are you going to do? It's just a house full of rivalries. After school, went into the tech space. Spent 7 years at Microsoft, but kind of missed. Was a mechanical engineer by trade before that, and always was tinkering with gear and always enjoyed developing, physical products and physical product solutions. I had done a little bit of that at Whirlpool between undergrad and graduate school. We were, as far as starting the Latitude thing, I was messing with saddles for a little while. I was on the road for work every week for a period of time. It was almost 2 years, staying in a hotel with nothing to do in kind of a smaller town in northern Michigan. And I was using my extra time to work on saddle designs. So I would buy a sewing machine off Amazon, sew stuff together in the hotel room, bring it home on the weekend and, kind of try it and try to break it or see what worked, what didn't, and just kind of did that for a while. Um, Felt like I was starting to evolve into something that was a little unique. This
Uh-huh.
is kind of the genesis of the Method 2-panel saddle designs, but and what started before that is I used to use an Anderson tree sling from way back in the day
Yeah.
that was gifted to me by my dad. He got it I think my mom bought it for him in the early 90s from Meyer for like $35.
Wow.
And Meyer is just basically a Walmart in the core Midwest area here around Michigan. But so anyways, was doing that and said, hey, Jake and Alex have always been close friends since college. We met in college. They're also from Grand Rapids, hunting and fishing buddies, always tinkering with gear together. Showed those guys what I had been working on, and a light bulb kind of went off for them, or I could see that go off. That they thought, I can see why this is different and why it has some unique things that are, maybe better in certain ways. And so we started to kind of just collectively work on it from there. And, I think it was like 22 months later, Latitude started. So July of 2020. And man, it's been a pretty crazy ride since. It's been we're very, very blessed to have all the customers we do, but it's been hectic and busy. Alex and I both got since we right around the time we started Latitude, we also got married, and we now both have 2 young girls, 1 and 3 years old, with or like 1.5 and 3.5. And then we each have our third on the way coming in January. So I don't know
Whew.
how we got everything in sync from the family standpoint, but that it's kind of fallen into place that way. So it's already been 5 years, a little over 5 years. It's crazy. Think about.
That's crazy, man. I guess it's kind of good that your business partner is in sync with the family planning kind of thing because you guys understand each other better, I bet.
Yeah, you develop a little bit more grace, I think, for each other with just the stuff going on at work that you've got to get taken care of as it pertains to the balancing that with family life. So
Yeah. Girl dad's the best dad though. I was just I just got off a podcast with Dan Johnson and I just
Mhm.
told him, I'm like, man, I have a girl. I don't have boys, but every time I see my buddies with boys, I'm like, man, you deserve a medal for keeping that kid alive,
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, I think I said I've got 2 girls, and I don't know what the 3rd one's gonna be yet. We like doing surprises, so who knows? Maybe it'll be a 3rd girl, but yeah, girls are great. I love my girls. They're a lot of fun. Trips like this is the first trip where I've been away from them this long. Um, so it's interesting. I miss them
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. It is different when you're leaving home, especially when it's like a pretty good distance, just
Mhm.
keeping the contact. But it's a lot easier now than even 10 years ago. FaceTime is better, or, the you use Starlink or whatever, a little bit
Yeah.
easier to stay in contact.
Yeah, we've been doing that every day for sure. I had to text my wife last night from the tree. It's like, "Don't call or FaceTime me tonight, but if I call or FaceTime you, make sure you answer." It was the kill shot last night. It just didn't happen, but,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's been good.
Kevin, how do you get your start in the outdoors? Because that's something I don't really know that about you. I mean, I've heard you on a couple podcasts and, like I said, we've talked in person, but was it kind of like new to the game? You grew up doing it? What's the story there?
I grew up more into fishing, but
Yeah.
I was in the woods a lot. My dad has been like a public land bow hunter for, I don't know, at this point, probably like 55 years or something like that in
Wow.
Michigan. He's one of the old school, way back in the day before tree stands even existed, guys. Um, so that was fun to grow up with. So he was always taking me out to
Yeah.
tag along scouting in the spring, or if he shot something, to bring me out to track,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So from a deer hunting standpoint, I was exposed to it very early on and very often. However, when I was younger, because I was so busy with sports kind of right out of the gate, kind of gravitated more towards fishing. It was just, I think, more accessible. We've never had private land as a family, or
Hmm.
access really to any good private land growing up. And I think it's a little harder with kids, right? Taking them out on the public ground
Yeah, for sure.
when they're young. So I just kind of gravitated towards the fishing thing, and I still love fishing and do as much as I can. And so I was basically hardcore fishing up through college, just with more limited time. And then football obviously was kind of my sport. So my
Yeah.
falls were pretty chocked full until that was over. And then I dove, 2 feet into the whitetail thing shortly after college. Finally kind of had the time, and it was, when athletics are finally done and you're a very competitive person, you
Hmm.
look for things to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
And the whitetail thing, it scratches that itch for me. So it's yeah, so I started a little after college from a hunting standpoint, but been doing the hunting and fishing and outdoor thing for a long time. It's
Isn't it
part of
cool
the
how,
family.
yeah, isn't it cool how fishing is like such like a gateway to the outdoors in general for kids? Because I mean, I hunted too, but I couldn't hunt myself until I was 12. I went along with my dad, but just going to a pond with a bobber and worms and catching bluegills for a
Mhm.
kid, that's so much.
Bluegills are like the gateway drug to the outdoors for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter, actually, I think it was last summer, so when she was 2.5, we got her on her first bluegill off the dock, so
Yeah.
she's been taken to it pretty good, and that's been really fun to kinda look at. I'm excited to get her out into the woods at some point, in the not too distant future, and start to see how she takes to that, but
Yeah. It's a
so
fun thing, man. It's a fun thing.
fishing's fun because you can just go. There's not as much preparation like there is for whitetail to go out and
Yeah.
have success, right? You can just go, and you can go to the fish, whereas, deer, you're pretty much trying to pattern them and guessing
Yeah,
and
for
hoping they
sure.
come to you. So
Well, yeah, and you can make fishing what you want it because it could be complicated. Like if you're going for a muskie and you just are, trying to do it hard and make sure that you just know seasonal patterns and that kind of thing. It can be, you can make it a lot. You can make the challenge what you want it to be, really.
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And fishing, it's kind of like it's a year-round thing. You can just kind of go. Yep, and there's certain seasons for certain things, but for the most part, it's a year-round thing. You kind of just go and attack it the way you want, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about timelines and short seasons and whatever it is. So
Yeah.
weapon of choice.
I love it because I got a lot of fishing in this summer. Sometimes I'm like, if both my shoulders stopped working, this wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that. I finally got back in. We've growing up, I've done a lot of like salmon, steelhead, trout fishing, both on the rivers and the big lake.
Nice.
Um, and I haven't been out on the big lake. We call it the big lake, Lake Michigan, in a number of years now. Probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years. So got back into doing that a little bit this summer. So that was a nice change of pace.
So what are some of the best memories that kind of have shaped you as a hunter? You don't have to name them all because I'm sure there's hundreds, but what's something that really stands out to you?
Um, I guess, yeah, I'll speak to a couple things. So one, I mentioned my dad when I was young used to take me out tracking if he shot something and it was, I usually got pulled out if it was expected to be a longer track job. Let's just say a bad shot.
Yeah.
And I can remember a specific instance. I think I was probably 8 or 9, but it it burned in my memory. Obviously, he took me out. We were tracking a buck that he shot. He knew it was a bad hit. He let it sit overnight. I think he went back in the morning himself to look, and then he brought me back in the afternoon for like one final go around. Right, it wasn't
Yeah.
looking good, but
Yeah.
it was Saturday or something. Nothing was going, so he pulled me along, and so we're tracking it, and we get to a certain little area, and he goes, "You know what? You wait." I think he could tell he thought it was either going to be close or it was going to be gone forever, right? And it may
Yeah.
still be alive. So he didn't want to bump it again. So he told me to wait right next to this particular tree in the middle of the timber. And he just wanders off and disappears. And he's gone for probably like a solid half an hour. But it'd been about 10 minutes. I'm just standing there here next to this tree. And then all of a sudden, there was a line of probably like 8 or 9 does. I mean, they're running in like train formation, blasting full speed through the timber, straight on at me, head on. And I'm just like a statue up against this tree. I mean, the adrenaline just immediately kicked in. And obviously, I remember it, right? And it was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then they turn. It was probably, I don't know, 30, 40 yards away, but it felt like about 10 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
They made like a 90-degree turn down into this like low, kind of bottom area. I don't know if they saw me or if that was the plan anyways, but um that scared the shit out of me. And so that one from way back in the day, I'll never forget that. So that was fun. But from a hunting standpoint, for myself, um I can still remember my first buck, which was actually my first deer too. And it was like a 3.5-year-old, I don't know, 85-inch 8-point on Michigan public land. But, it's part of the genesis story really for Latitude, even though it was a few years prior. I just backdoored this bedding area in a big swamp, just kind of throwing a dart at a map in a new area that I had hunted one other time 3 days prior and seen some deer. And it was the rut. I think it was November 7th.
Uh-huh.
Had just beautiful morning, right? Bucks cruising by all day. I got lucky. I set up on the right cruising trail down with some bedding. I had no idea what I was doing, but
Yeah.
it all I do now. I know why it worked, but it worked, right? And shot the buck, but where it took me 6 hours to drag the thing out and get it back to the truck on my own. And I didn't have some of the things I have now, like a jet sled or a
Yeah.
deer cart for that matter. So I made it a little extra tough on myself, but I was waist deep in muck going through like cattails and bogs and stuff, dragging this thing out for a while. And I was just totally beat and spent. I had taken a couple days off work, so I didn't even hunt the next couple of days. I was like done for like 4 days.
Uh-huh.
I did all that with all my gear on my back. So I had my tree stand, my pack, my sticks, my bow strapped on that. I mean, I had everything. So I don't know what I was carrying. It was a lot of weight. Big old turtle shell on the back, trying to pull you over while you're dragging this
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah.
Anyways, came out of that day just thinking to myself, like, there's got to be a better way, than what I'm carrying around
Yeah.
to do this. Cause it's like, it's not that complicated. I'm just trying to get up into a tree and shoot an arrow. Like, it feels like it should be easier and lighter and more efficient. So, that was probably the core motivation of, tinkering with the saddles and headed in that direction from a gear standpoint. But that was a fun hunt. You always remember your first deer and your first buck for that matter. So
It's funny because you remember you remember mostly about the experience, not just the skull and or the shoulder mount or whatever you got done is the nice memory of it. But it's cool because your first story wasn't like, oh, I remember my first year. Your first story was the first thing that got your heart pounding,
oh yeah.
and then your second story was where you kind of just tied it all together and you actually entered into learning because like you just said, you didn't know anything. You didn't know what you're doing. Now you know why it all worked, but back then it's cool because then you kind of get shaped in the beginning to shape the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I can remember every detail from that hunt with that first buck, and I'm sure it's like that for most guys. But I know the arrow, or maybe not the arrow brand, but I can remember the look of my arrows, the bow. It was
Uh-huh.
all set up wrong because I was kind of just figuring everything out. It wasn't even the right draw length. I've got a really long draw length. It's 31 and a half. I think this bow was set at like 28 or something.
Oh wow.
Little G5 Montec broadhead, just
Yeah.
all the kind of just getting going stuff. And I'd modified the heck out of my climbing sticks and my gear. And I think it was like my fifth hunt or sixth hunt on my own that first season doing it. And every hunt, I was like chopping my sticks down, drilling holes, changing stands. Like every hunt, it was like knocking some weight off.
Yeah.
But still, the experience that day was like, man, there's just got to be a better way because I feel like I'm as light as I can get what I've got. And so, anyways, yeah, but it was a really fun day. Talk about adrenaline in that first buck. That's ultimate high.
After that, you kind of we already talked a little bit about how you got into the saddles. Is that the hunt that really piqued your interest? Did you start looking into stuff right after that and like start
Yeah.
tinkering right away?
Yeah, I was just complaining about it, like, kind of picking my dad's brain because he had, he's hunted for so long. And then I was basically asking him, like, is this what I should expect from the standpoint of what I'm carrying around to do this mobile thing? And um, his generation, he's always been a mobile hunter. He's never like put up ladder stands or whatever, but he has, historically done a lot of, go in the afternoon, set your stand, maybe hunt it in the evening, hunt it in the morning, or hunt it for
Uh-huh.
2-3 days in a row during the rut. So, um, he's done a lot of that historically, but the true, like, you know, carry it in, set up, and tear down every hunt. I was like, I feel like that's going to be the way to go. Like, is there something better? Is there anything better that I'm missing from a gear standpoint? And he was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you got the best stand you can get. I had like a Lone Wolf Assault 2 at the time.
Yeah.
And they're sticks that I had chopped down. Um, but I've got this old thing in a box in the basement you can try. It was supposed to be, something that might solve that problem from, I guess at that point, 20 years ago, almost 15,
Yeah.
20 years ago. You can go mess around with that. I don't even know if the instructions are still in the box. And that was the Anderson tree sling.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of the initial exposure, and that thing was, a mess to use out of the box in my opinion. And I immediately started modifying it and making it more user friendly to my liking. So
How'd your first saddle turn out?
not aesthetically pleasing at all. um but when we still to this day, when we start a new product development project. That is kind of how we roll, frankly, in the early phases of prototyping. Um, we believe that like aesthetics and function can be married really well with the right attention to detail. And oftentimes you can make something look cool with certain attributes that create certain performance characteristics. And so that's kind of that marriage aspect. But
Yeah.
in the early, we always start with function from a prototyping testing standpoint, and that's
Sure.
exactly how it went with the initial ones. Is they're very crude, and we would do just to save money. I mean, this is before we're just putting our own money into it, and that's how we started this thing. It was all our own money, our
Yeah.
own savings. I'd sell one together, and if it was a miss, or even if like we figured something out that worked, a lot of times I was like tearing them back apart and popping the stitching and reusing stuff when I could, just to
Yeah.
save some money, because we went through so many iterations.
Yeah.
And that's always been kind of key to, kind of part of our process is a lot of iterative testing, but very crude aesthetically early on, just slap things together to see how they fit, feel, function, and then go from there. So it was pretty ugly.
The the want to like the want to bow hunt initially starts because you want to simplify things, right? Well, I mean, rifle is pretty simple too, but it's just kind of breaking it down to as bare as you can get. It's kind of like fly fishing or whatever, um, as close to as close as minimalist as possible type stuff. And I remember starting out, like I always hunted private land mostly. Like we did a little bit of small game hunting on public or small parcels and stuff like that. And I started hunting on public almost 10 years ago now. And when I started, I'm afraid of heights. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I just need a really big tree stand. I know it's going to be extra weight. So
Yep.
I was carrying a Hawk Helium XL with 4 32-inch sticks. And I'm also maybe I'm not quite as athletic as you, so maybe I was a little lazy, but I'm like, I'm gonna go in once and I'm gonna go out once, whether I have a deer or not. So I was like, gotta get a big pack because I'm gonna do like a gutless method and pack this thing out Western style because I'm usually going in. I don't know. I'm usually going in at least a mile most of the time. There's a couple places that I have there, close to parking or whatever. But so that was kind of an idea. And I remember putting that pack on my back the first year and it weighed no less than 40 pounds, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
and
Easily.
the first deer I killed on public, I had that stand and we had this great idea. My buddy, he's like, well, if you kill the deer, you pack the deer out, I'll pack the gear and vice versa. So I killed a deer and we're like, all right. So we loaded 2 tree stands, a whole bunch of gear on his
Man.
back. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to carry the whole deer out. And my idea was to get one of these packing vests. You ever see one of those? It's literally a vest with a bucket in the front and a bucket on the back, right? Not a
Oh
bucket, but like
man.
a big pouch. And all the weight is directly on your shoulders. But when you like watch all these things and they're like, oh, it's a great idea. So you could pack a whole elk out this way,
Yep.
we made it 100 yards.
Oh man, I bet.
And we were 3 miles in, right? But
Jeez
it was
Louise.
kind of after that, like, like listening to John Eberhard and and saddles were actually just starting to get popular at that time. This was like 2018. And I was pretty resistant to it because I'm like, this is just a bunch of hippies, trying to be tree monkey, hanging out of the trees and stuff. And when I bought one, I was like, I am never, ever, ever going back to carrying a tree stand around on my back. I sit them on a farm, my
Yeah.
buddy's farm still, but usually I still hook my saddle into the tree and just use the stand as a platform,
Sure.
just more
Yeah.
comfortable to shoot out of for me.
Yeah. I mean, we fully believe there's still very much a place for like a mobile hang on or just tree stands in general. Everybody has personal preference, and the tree stands have gotten a lot lighter and come a long ways from where they've been historically. So for the
Yeah.
guys that like that, there's great options out there. They're both great. They're and every situation is different too. So typically you can get set up, for success with really either system in most situations. But the saddle, you are gonna trim some weight and be a bit more streamlined, which if you're hunting a lot of thick stuff, just kind of being agile going in and out is, I think maybe guys don't think about that as much, as a core benefit. They're thinking it's just, oh, it's going to be lighter, but how small and nimble it is to wear in and on your back, having just a backpack with some sticks and a tiny platform versus,
Mhm.
kind of having a stand with straps and then all your other gears, on top of that, which that works too, but you're just a little bulkier.
Well, I've sent you pictures of pack outs where I'm
Yeah.
riding a bike with all my gear and the
Yep.
saddle's tucked inside the backpack, and it's kind of the way to go, you know? And like you said, there's definitely an application for everything, especially with the platform part of it. A lot of people aren't super comfortable, or maybe they're not quite as nimble moving around a platform, or maybe they're wearing clunky boots or something. So I know some people who use like a larger tree stand, like a micro-sized tree stand platform that's just a little bigger than a saddle. But I'm not one of those people, but they definitely have their application. Do you have anything to tell us about some experience that you had like that, where you're like, man, other than your first buck, where you're like, man, this saddle thing could really work?
Well, I haven't hunted out of a tree stand since that day. So I made the switch right after that moment. I mean, that was how impactful that was for me. It's kind of the way I'm wired. Like if I feel like there's a better, more efficient way to do something, which is something I'm always looking for anyways, I'm going to do it that
Yeah.
way. I'm just not wired to go what feels like going backwards for me. And just some of that's personal preference, but, um, I'm trying to think.
Well, like you said, your first couple attempts at the saddle were a little bit crude, and I'm sure that probably was a little bit discouraging. So kind of moving forward from that, where you're like, oh man, it's working.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things from both like a saddle product development standpoint that were like aha moments. From a hunting standpoint, I'm gonna have a couple guys walk in here, so
Oh,
you
you're
might hear
good, buddy.
me cut this out. Um, Except Carvin.
Oh, it's no worries, man.
Um, I can remember a specific hunt during that time frame when we were kind of developing the early products before we started the company formally. One of those those mid-October cold front mornings, just perfect. It was a Saturday. Went
Mm-hmm.
into a spot and ended up shooting a good buck and also shot a good doe. I grazed her, so I should have got her, but from the standpoint of like how um versatile the saddle is in the tree, for me that was, I don't know if I'd call it a light bulb moment, but it kind of put the stamp on that advantage for me in my memory bank. Because the buck was, I'm left-handed, so my strong side shot in the saddle is, to my right.
Mm-hmm.
The buck was to my right, and it was a long shot. It was like a 37-yard shot.
Wow.
Um, and I was set up on a creek, so I shot him, and then a doe group came down along the creek to total 180 to my left on the other side of the creek.
Mm-hmm.
And to take that shot, I was using actually a platform with a ring of steps at the time. I walked around the top side of the tree so that I could kind of keep my strong side shot and took a shot total opposite the other way. And I was also able to hide behind the tree while those, because you have multiple deer in that instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you take the shot. So that hunt kind of sticks out from just the versatility in the tree of taking shots and using the tree as cover, being able to basically take a deer in both directions on one
Yeah.
hunt and stay hidden before that shot for either direction.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that worked out
Kind
really
of a light
well.
bulb moment there. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. But there's other stuff with like the saddle itself. I mean, when I'd say that when we first went down the path of using magnets in the method, 2-panel saddle, that was a
Yeah.
big light bulb moment for us, and we've obviously recently refined that with the method 3, the third generation of that product. So that's kind of one we've hung our hat on and has done well, and people have liked.
I know that you kind of alluded to this as well, but you built saddles to kind of solve problems and fix hunters' problems, mostly with cutting weight, being more mobile, and that's huge, especially for people I think that are hunting big tracts of public where you're walking deep into timber. Like it's super important to be streamlined and low weight because you could be going in pretty far. But you built this to solve a problem. So where do you, as a saddle company, where do you find balance between problem solving and just trying to beat out the competition? Because I, I've gotten to see you guys at the Sportsman Show, and quite honestly, I think it's kind of cool because you're not really interested in competition. You're just interested in having good products.
You answered your question for me there, Aaron. Um, yeah, I mean, look, we're trying to run a sustainable business, so we don't ignore the competition. That
Yeah,
would be careless.
and
Um,
that's what I'm getting at is like, how
but
do you do that and maintain?
yeah,
You
but
know,
you can't you can't focus on the competition first or get distracted by it from the standpoint of developing products and solutions. Um, if you want to develop products and solutions that people are going to truly love.
uh huh,
They're not going to truly love something just because it's XYZ, versus something in the, different price point versus a competition or something like that.
yeah,
Um, we're just, laser focused on the customer, the end consumer, the end user of all of our products. First and foremost, that's day one to the final day when the first unit sells. Um, and it's just centered around the end user experience and testing and getting feedback and testing and getting feedback. And we do a lot of observation studies with people where we have them try things or say, hey, can you show us go through this process? And we'll just observe and take notes. And sometimes, we can uncover problems that people didn't even know they had.
uh huh,
Um, and that's, doing that and kind of iteratively refining over and over and over again on a product is how you, in our opinion, develop something that creates an experience that is really sticky in terms of the person just loves the product. And if they've got to pay a decent amount of money for whatever it is, we want that experience every time with all of our gear. Um, and we want it to elevate your experience in the woods because we're all out there to have a good time. I mean, we're all very passionate about it. It's our free time. It's when we don't have to work or have family obligations or whatever. We're all
uh
very
huh.
busy in this day and age, so that time out there is super precious. So if we can enhance that even 1%, we're gonna do it. But you know the the product, it's got to solve the big problems really well, and then we refine it from there. And we love to have products where maybe someone bought it because it solves one of those big needs, those big problems. But when they get in the woods and they start using it, they start to notice other aspects of the design that just kind of click and make sense. And
Yeah.
they have their little aha moments of like, oh, that's why that's there, or that's why that's laid out the way it is. And that kind of stuff is I think goes a long way to truly have people love what we've built. That's the ultimate goal. Um, so it's for us, it's never been too much of a challenge of like getting distracted by competition. There's times, but um, we remain focused and centered on the customer.
What do you think? What do you think makes Latitude the most different from other saddles on the market?
I think as a brand, an overall just brand, we and there's businesses that say this, but um, sometimes it's just said from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
We truly are our own customers. Like the owners and founders of the company are three guys in their mid-30s who've basically done nothing but grow up hunting public land or permission properties. Nothing has ever been sort of handed to us as
Mhm.
people in a professional sense or family. So it's just kind of three like blue collar, hardworking guys that is what started this thing, and we've remained true to that as a brand. So that's why the TV show we have on YouTube is called Grit.
Yeah.
And which I know is a bit of a popular word out there these days, but um, that's just who we are as people. We go hard, we hunt hard, we've got family lives, we don't have a lot of time. And so we need things that work and we
Yep.
need things that work well and they're easy to use. But we want them to also be very well thought out, look awesome. Just everything about the experience needs to be um, dialed in, really, at the end of the day. So to me, that's what makes us different is that our gear, it's not we don't build something and stuff features in it to position it in the market.
Yeah.
It comes from the field. It
Right.
comes from our collection of guys testing and beating on it, and people like you giving us feedback and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So some people say that we live it. I think that's what makes the brand different.
I expected you to well, I didn't expect you to say it, but the expected answer is, well, this is built that way and this is why this works, but you didn't answer it that way. So
Yeah.
you passed the test, Kevin. Good
Yeah.
job. A
Thanks.
plus.
Yeah. Every product is unique, and we've got stuff in all sorts of categories now. It's different than a few years ago, but they
Sure.
all kind of go back to what I said foundationally. So
Yeah.
it's a good answer for all of them, I guess, or
Yeah.
hopefully.
What's your experience? So this is one of the biggest. There's a couple things that people are always worried about when they're getting into saddles or if they're kind of new to saddle hunting. The first and the biggest one is always, well, it might not be the first one, but one of the biggest ones, in my opinion, is shooting out of a saddle because everybody's worried about shooting off the weak side.
Hmm.
What are some pointers you can give on that, and how comfortable are you with shooting off your weak side?
Well, I've been doing it a while, so I'm very comfortable at this point. Honestly, it depends on the tree. So I would say that a nice straight clear tree, you just need a little bit of practice, and it's not that difficult. It's just different, but there's different ways to accomplish that shot. And I think depending on your build or how nimble you are, or comfortable in the tree with it, that can evolve over time. That can kind of influence which style of taking the weak side shot you prefer. And then sometimes ultimately it's the tree or the setup that is going to define how you're going to be able to take that shot. So it's good to learn all of them. Some guys will go up and over their bridge and kind of just twist at the waist
Uh-huh.
and kind of spin their feet on their platform a little bit and take the shot. If the situation allows for it, that's probably the easiest and the fastest. Some guys will turn and put their back to the tree, like they're standing in a tree stand essentially,
Yep.
and do that. That one is slower and more movement, so it's very situational dependent. And then if you, not a whole lot of guys run a ring of steps or steps on the backside of the tree with platforms, but if you
Yeah.
do, and the advantage of those, if the tree allows for it, again, is you can turn a weak side shot into a strong side shot by walking around what we would call the top side of the tree. So if you're right handed shooting, you got the tree in front of you, shooting to your left would be the strong side.
Uh-huh.
Walking around the top side of the tree to shoot to your right, you'd walk clockwise around to the left around the tree to your
Right.
12 o'clock and take that shot on those steps. So
Uh-huh.
those are kind of the three main ways to go about it. And I would say the first two, if you're not a steps guy, you're not going to have that option. But use the first two and practice them both, and then practice them on some different style trees. Do some trees that have a lot of branches. Do
Yeah.
some trees that are leaning to the left or the right or away from you or towards you. Don't just practice on a telephone pole, essentially.
Yep.
Maybe if that's all you're hunting, you're down south in pines, maybe that doesn't matter. But oftentimes this mobile hunting thing, you're in a lot of goofy situations, and so put yourself in those situations and just practice them a little bit. You inevitably are going to get better at it over time in the field as well. that's probably another piece of advice I'd say is, don't hold out for the big buck just because you went out and bought a saddle. Maybe get a couple toes under your belt in the new setup,
Yeah.
and that'll go a long, long way for building confidence too.
Yeah, I think it's so important well, like you said, it's important to practice, but it's important to practice just your archery routine in the backyard if you have a tree available. Because
Mhm.
sometimes even drawing a bow is kind of weird in a saddle until you get to shake the cobwebs off in the beginning of the year, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, it is a little different because your body's in kind of a different orientation. A tree stand, you're either just sitting down or standing straight up. There's not
Yep.
a whole lot to it. Maybe practice sitting down,
Yep.
which you can just put a chair on the ground and do that, right? And accomplish that. In the saddle, you're just positioned slightly differently. And in terms of just shooting, generally speaking, in a saddle, I always promote putting at least one knee on the tree when you go to take a shot. Every once in a while, the situation doesn't allow for that, but for the most part, I try to have at least one knee on the tree. It just provides some extra stability, especially on like a
Yeah.
windy day.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like I'm actually more stable taking a shot in a saddle than I am standing in a tree stand. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't get that, especially on a windy day. You don't get that like rocking. I'm going to fall off the platform feel because you're
Yep.
under tension in the harness. So
Well, like I told you, I'm afraid of heights, and hunting out of a saddle fixes that for me just because I feel that connection to the tree all the time.
I was the same way, honestly.
Yeah.
And I like to hunt high in Michigan specifically. Um, Always situational dependent, but I have a lot of situations where it requires it. And I hunt higher in a saddle than I ever did in a tree stand and feel safer than I ever did.
Yeah.
So
I always kind of thought that water in my knees feeling was buck fever.
yeah,
And in a
yeah,
sense, part of it was, but a lot of it was just like, I mean, I was obviously wearing a harness, but there's no tension on a tree harness when you're in a tree stand, or
yeah.
it's too hard to shoot. It's too hard to shoot, honestly.
Really different safety systems. The harness catches you when you do fall. The saddle prevents the fall.
What about the sitting in a saddle all day question? Because that happened. People ask that all the time. Well, how can I be comfortable? It doesn't look very comfortable. Which, I mean, if they try it, they're not going to know it's not true. But what do you think about that?
I'd say the comfort question is easily the number one question we get from people who are new and interested in the concept.
Yeah,
Without a doubt, maybe a close second is like, is it hard to learn? But the comfort thing, I really believe the comfort thing, is easily fixed by just trying a few different styles of saddles. And that's ultimately why we have basically three different categories and styles of saddles that we offer at this point.
sure.
And it kind of ranges from, you got kind of your two verticals, your single panels, and your two panel designs. And then really within both, you could kind of do like a lighter weight, more streamlined option, or something that's a little bit beefier, for lack of a better term, with some comfort focused features, and figure out what works for you.
Uh-huh.
We have like a couple of our saddles right now. We've got our Lone Star single panel and our new Method 3, which we really leaned into the comfort aspect of that product from the previous generation. Those are both like focus on comfort first, from a design standpoint, and people that are looking for comfort, we push them towards those two from a try, before you buy standpoint. And still to this day, we couldn't, if we gave both to someone to try on a demo pull, for instance, at a show, we can't predict which one they're going to like better. You just don't know until you try. These things are kind of like jeans. It's a soft goods textile product that you're wearing and sitting in.
Uh-huh.
Um, and think about how many trims of jeans Wrangler has just for men's jeans. And
Sure.
they're all different for different sizes and shape people. And so you just that's my suggestion, is to try the different styles, and then look at the construction of the different options that are out there, and certain models and brands have things that are within the construction will help prevent things like there's a term called hip pinch. That if you're
Yeah.
new to this, you may have heard that thrown out around as a negative about sitting in one of these for a while, and you want to harness where it is constructed so that it distributes the weight in your butt essentially with
Mm-hmm.
how you're sitting in the thing, and it doesn't put everything on a couple of inch and a half wide or 2-inch straps that you're sitting on all day. You want something that's constructed to distribute the load so it feels more like you're sitting in a seat.
Right.
All of our saddles have specific features that focus on that for the weight holding aspect of the design. Even our most streamlined lightweight options have stuff built in that do that really well. So um, really pay attention to that. Try before you buy, and then do a little bit of practice as well. A lot of times just dialing in some little adjustable. But all the saddles have adjustment features
Mm-hmm.
to kind of tune how the thing's basically holding you and pulling you as you're hanging from the tree. Your tether height, that's the last thing I'll say.
Yeah. Tether
Your
height's
rope on the
huge.
tree, where you put that is really important. If you put that way up above your head, it's going to make most saddles on the market, including ours, feel uncomfortable, or you're going to get a
Yeah.
pressure point likely on the bottom edge of the harness that you're sitting on because it's pulling up too much. You
Right.
got to find something. Typically, it's between like your eyes and your collarbone for most guys. You got to get the right angle of attack for how that thing's holding you up against a tree. So, and that can change a little bit depending on the tree you're in. So that's where some of the more you do it, where to put that rope, where your settings need to be on your harness, and then it just gets better over time.
I'd agree with that. And I think tether height is probably one of the biggest things that you can do for an adjustment. And even just sitting in a tree stand versus a saddle, and you can't tell me you sit straight on a bare tree stand seat all day without moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to adjust your tether or adjust a strap here and there throughout a days long hunt. You're gonna be mildly uncomfortable no matter which option you use, saddle versus tree stand versus whatever saddle you're using.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, a tree stand, you're sitting or standing. When you're standing, like you could stand with your back up against the tree, but depending on the tree, but a saddle, you're more like leaning, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like leaning up against a countertop in the kitchen,
Yeah.
or you can sit with your knees touching the tree. A lot of guys wear knee pads or put a pad on the tree or use their backpack as a pad to kind of cushion their knees from that standpoint. You can also side sit. You kind of
Yeah.
sit down and turn sideways so one of your sides of your thighs up against the tree. But I didn't mention this, but back support in a saddle can really help for those all day sits, day after day. Once you hit November, whether if you prefer single panel style for your seat, you could add a little back band accessory that clips
Mm-hmm.
into your carabiner in front of you, and then that can add some support on your back wherever you want to put it, all the way up to your armpits if you want it that high. Or our 2-panel saddles. That's one of the advantages of that style. You can split your panels and use that top piece as a lower back support. It kind of feels like a weightlifting belt. It provides that kind of a
Right.
support. So, or like the lumbar section on a high end office chair. So those kind of have back support integrated and gives it a little bit more of a chair feel. And so guys, they like the versatility for on all day sits that a 2-panel provides. You can run it together or split and kind of change where that thing's holding you throughout the day. It's
Yeah.
just another thing that you can change up.
Right. Kevin, what kind of impact do you hope that you have on people that are around you? Not only like your friends and your family, but maybe somebody that you don't know. As far as it pertains to the hunting space, like, there's a lot of good that hunting can do for the country that we live in now. You know what I mean? And I
Yep.
think not enough people do it. We're kind of a minority. So what do you think? What's your goal in that aspect?
So I would say if someone comes up and talks to me or any of the guys on our team that they don't know us is, one of our core values as a group here, as a company, is to always be very approachable and
Mm-hmm.
humble.
Mm-hmm.
in how we're talking with people. So when we talk to people at shows that we don't know, we always want them to walk away with like the impression that, wow, those guys are really nice and easy to talk to. I have no problem going back and just talking to them and shooting the shit. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even matter if we're talking about product or not. I can remember as a kid, like going to shows or going to a local fly fishing shop, which a lot of them are still like this, it feels like. And you walk in, you're kind of like nervous to talk to one of the
Yeah.
workers in the booth or at the store. You got all kinds of questions, you know, whatever, but you're nervous because we want people to just like naturally feel comfortable and come up to us and realize that we're just we're regular dudes, right? Just like everybody else. Because again, we're our own customer. So from that standpoint, the impact of people when we talk with people, that's the kind of positive feeling we want everybody to walk away with, and that what we say when we're talking with them is they can trust it,
Yeah.
right? Like it'll be reinforced if we give them a recommendation on something or try something this way or that way, they can go do that in their own time, and then that's what actually happens, or that helps them figure out whatever it is they're trying to figure out. So
Yeah.
being trustworthy and approachable is huge. As far as impact on the hunting, you're asking about impact on like the hunting space. That's a good question. That's something I should probably now that we're still here 5.5 years later, should probably have some more dedicated thinking on. Um,
You're
so I
welcome.
don't know if I have a great answer right now. I think it's really cool the impact that we've seen. Like we get this time of year is when they start rolling in, right? Openers are starting to fly. We get uh, pictures and reviews and emails from people of having success, and like, did so and so got this, it helped me do XYZ. It was so much fun and got the deer I was after, brought my kid out and they were safe and they had a great time. We get a lot of pictures of people with their kids and having fun with the gear. So those are you know, I'd say right now just stacking those moments, those types of feedback for people, and
Yeah.
trying to have as much of that as we can, those positive experiences come fall.
Yeah. You guys have done a really good job at it with your grit with the show and just your YouTube, product reviews and stuff. But the the show is relatable, man. Like anybody can go and hunt out of state, and you're really kind of helping them use the things or, figure out how to do that. But you guys also have like the family work life balance. Like you didn't just make saddles and now the saddles sell themselves. Like
Right.
it's like we said in the beginning, it's a revolving door of products. So it's kind of cool to see that you're staying relatable. There's so much technology and that kind of stuff that's kind of hitting the market now. And I think you guys are doing a good job of being in the space where people are kind of shifting back to simplicity.
I think it's a sign of the times. Like in society, we have so much information coming at us every day,
Yeah.
and most of it's delivered in some digital form factor, right? And
Hmm.
screens and just so when it's time to go out into the woods, it's like it's finally time. Like it's your opportunity to get off the screens and just kind of turn or tune off the information. So I think that is probably a huge reason why people are starting to think about just simplifying. And hopefully with like our show, and I know others are doing it with great content. There's lots of great content out nowadays, but it kind of shows that you can keep it simple and you can have success, you can have a great time, and you don't have to stress about the result, even though sometimes we stress about the result just because we want to create something that's fun to watch.
Sure. When
But
you're when you're in the moment, for
but
sure.
yeah, but it's yeah, keeping it simple is really important. Hunting has this thing that I think is, and I alluded to it earlier when we were talking about fishing, and it's kind of unique, is the fact that there's these defined seasons.
Hmm.
So it's like you're on the clock, and I
Yeah.
think that can cause stress in of itself.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
not I think, I know. So, there's no reason to stress about hunting when we've got so much else coming at us when we're not hunting. So just go have fun. So, I mean, last night, it took me 3 hours to crawl 175 yards to get to a tree and set up. And the buck didn't show up. So what are you going to do?
And you're gonna do that in another hour or so, right? You're gonna crawl
Yeah.
back out after him. Are you
Yeah.
gonna try to watch for him tonight, or are you going back after him?
No, I'm going to glass one of those other fields in that little section he's in, and probably one of the other sorghum fields. And he, I did, so where he popped out Sunday night, I walked over there and just checked his tracks and found he was bedded right on the field edge. So sorghum was a little shorter in that field. So he was, wind to back looking out over the field, on the opposite end of the field from like the
Mhm.
main, like 2 track that everybody walks in on.
Mhm.
I'm assuming. I've never
Yeah.
hunted this, but, so he was just opposite end of the field monitoring. And so I got to see. I imagine he's probably he either went back in the thick or he's going to be set up in something where he can kind of see.
Yeah.
So
Well, I hope I get to watch it at some point and see you send an arrow through both his lungs.
me too.
What do you guys? Are there any new releases, any products that you wanted to highlight now? I mean, season's opening here in PA in like 2 weeks, so
Yeah, yeah. Like July and August, we kind of went through all of our new product releases for the most part. Method 3 is the big one. That's the
yeah,
one that's a lot of people are really excited about it. It it's gotten great reviews so far, which isn't entirely unexpected based off the feedback we were getting throughout the development and testing phases. But it's been really cool, and a blessing to just see how uh, positive of a response we've gotten on that. We can't keep them in stock.
that's
So if you're
awesome.
trying to get one and they're out of stock on the website, we got a ton of great retail partners, and we're trying to get them to those guys as quick as we can as well. So check your favorite archery shop or store or whatever too. But um, people are really liking. We basically made 2 big updates to that product. Design the magnet system, which is the system that connects the 2 panels together. So Gen 2 had a 3-point system. It
Yep.
connected in the center and the back, and then 1 spot on each hip, which worked really well. For guys that maybe only get out a few times a year or just for whatever reason, we got a little bit of feedback that at times it was challenging to get the magnets lined up,
Okay.
to bring the 2 panels together. And then a higher percentage of guys than we anticipated were adding one of our bolt-on accessories we call our 2-panel straps to that, so that they could sort of, once they figure it out, predefine the distance that the 2 panels drop to and separate to, and then it would just stay there the whole hunt. And a lot of that is if someone wants to stand up and they take pressure off the harness for a minute, when they sit back down, they know it's going to be the same distance. They don't have to worry about monkeying around with that.
Right.
Those 2 kind of things we wanted to fix or make better. So totally new magnet system. It's a full continuous strip across the back side of the saddle.
Okay.
And so when it's connected together, this thing looks and sits and wears just like a single panel. So it is now actually also a true 2-in-1, but that magnet system is really robust. It won't get pulled apart walking through the thick stuff. And in terms of bringing the 2 panels back together, that is really easy now. We've got these little draw cords right on your hips. And so you just pull those, and that would pull your panel straight up and they would connect. You don't have to
Oh,
touch
cool.
your panels at all, actually.
Yeah.
They come up and connect, perfect every time. Those draw cords, you can also do 2 other things with them. One, you can set that distance. So now there's no more 2-panel straps. You can set the distance with those draw cords. So when you do pull down on your bottom panel, it drops to wherever you set it.
Mhm.
And then they also, the third thing they provide is a mechanism to carry your sticks up the tree. So there's these little cinchers on there, so you can actually just hook your cinch those kind of the loose ends right onto your sticks or a platform. And so carrying those up the tree is also now integrated into the harness.
Yeah.
It's got a new butter bridge, and then we changed the construction of the panels, added some foam and some other things going on in there that added a bunch of rigidity. So it's terms of sitting down into it, it feels as close as you can get to like you're sitting in a chair without actually sitting in one.
That's cool.
It's been very well received, very comfortable. That's been the big one. There's been quite a few other things as well, but that was the big one here recently.
Where can people find you? Where can they find Latitude? And are there kind of like, you're just in you're in local archery shops now and stuff? I know you're in a couple around me. So
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of finding product, obviously we've got our website, we've got all the normal social media channels. Just search Latitude Outdoors, you'll find us. You'll see some content with me in it throughout those channels. My personal channels are pretty dormant. You're welcome to follow me if you want, but I think I got 6 pictures the entire lifespan of my Instagram account. Usually I put 1 or 2 a year in the fall. That's what you'll get out of me, and then it goes dormant the rest of the year.
well, it speaks to your good speaking of your life balance, you know?
Yes, there it is. 100%. But we have a really great list of dealers that we work with. We think of them as partners, not dealers. I hate that word, frankly.
Yeah.
But retail partners that we work with, and there's a retail partner or dealer finder locator on our website. So
Cool.
if we're out of stock on something, or you just want to shop local, support your guys that you know that work on your bow, you can check and see if they've got our stuff. If they don't have our stuff, go tell them you want it in there, and we'll help them get it. But
Cool.
yeah, it's kind of pretty quite a few locations now, which is really
awesome,
cool.
man.
We're really excited to be working with all of them.
This has been fun catching up a little bit, man. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time and working out the schedule with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for being patient and being flexible on the scheduling of it. I will follow this up. I'm gonna shoot you. I'll text you a short video of that buck that I found.
Perfect.
Grainy video, but
perfect.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to catch up, man. Like I said, I miss getting to see you at the Great American Outdoor Show last couple of years, and so it's good to catch up.
Yeah, appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks for having me on.
Man. Yep. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Kevin. Go ahead and check out latitudeoutdoors.com. They've got a lot of really great stuff going on over there. Thanks for listening to InCamp Podcast every week, guys. I appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a review and a rating if you could. Send me a message and let me know what you want to hear next. I love to hear that stuff from you guys. So it's always good. I hope you have a great deer season. Got some more great episodes for you coming up that are already recorded and ready to go. So enjoy. Hope you kill a deer by the next time I see ya. Talk to you later. This is InCamp Podcast.